What should I do if I'm injured by someone's animal? I'm Jamison Allen. I represent people who are injured in various scenarios, including dog bites and animal attacks. In these situations, a lot of times people don't know whether they might have a case or against the dog owner, property owner, perhaps someone else that has control over the animal. If you are injured in an animal attack, someone's negligence might be the cause of your injury. The obvious defendant, of course, would be the animal owner. If it's a dog bite, if the animal owner was on notice that the dog had a propensity for violence and did not take precautions to prevent your injury, most likely you're going to be able to prevail against that owner. Even if the animal did not show a propensity for violence, there can be situations where that owner will be responsible if the owner did not take reasonable steps for safety. A property owner can also be responsible, even if the property owner is not the owner of the animal. If a property owner is on notice that someone, a guest, has brought their animal to the property, and let's stick with the dog example, and the dog's not well trained, dog is aggressive, shows a propensity for violence, that property owner has a duty to take reasonable steps to protect other guests. So if another guest shows up at a party with the aggressive dog and gets bitten, that guest most likely has a claim to pursue against the dog owner who brought the aggressive dog, and also the property owner who was on notice of the problem but didn't do anything about it, didn't warn the guest, didn't kick the other friend out who brought the aggressive dog, didn't put the dog, lock the dog up in the bedroom, etc., etc. Another thing that people get confused on sometimes is thinking that they cannot bring a lawsuit, cannot get compensation because they themselves feel partially responsible for what happened. They might think, well, I should have known better than to try to pet their dog, or I should have walked to the other side of the street when I saw the dog there, etc., etc. Indiana and a lot of states have what is called comparative fault when it comes to negligence cases. So what comparative fault means is that each party is responsible for their percentage of fault for the incident, for the injuries. Very common in these scenarios, slip and fall scenarios, car crashes, etc. A jury will split fault. 1% here, 1% there. This driver is 90% at fault, this driver is 10% at fault. So in an animal attack situation, if a jury would be judgmental and say that you should have crossed the street or you should have done something differently, that jury might only put 10% or 20% fault on your actions, which then means that the owner of the aggressive dog, who didn't put a muzzle on it, took it out into a crowded area, is responsible for 80 or 90% of the damages. A lot of times in these cases, you might have a good argument for negligence, but there might not be an effective way to enforce a judgment if no one has insurance and the person who you're suing doesn't have the resources to pay for your medical bills for your injuries. However, there's situations where you might not think insurance applies when there might be an insurance policy that is covering the situation. So, for example, the homeowner in our previous example with the party and the aggressive dog, that homeowner most likely has an insurance policy. If that person is renting the property and doesn't have insurance, presumably the property owner has insurance, and there might be coverage there depending on what the facts are. The dog owner themselves, a lot of times homeowners insurance policies will cover the damage caused by the dog, the injuries caused by the dog, even if they didn't occur on the property. If you are hurt, don't make the assumption that there's not a way for you to recover for your injuries. Sometimes insurance policies will provide coverage, and You might not understand it, but that's one reason of many why you should contact an attorney if you were injured. Now, if you are a dog owner or a property owner, I encourage you to get insurance for this reason, because you need to make sure that you're protected from this type of scenario. So if you are hurt by an animal, what steps should you take to protect your rights? Basically, you would take the same steps as you would with another injury, such as a car injury. You want to make sure you get medical treatment, obviously for medical reasons, but also for legal reasons. If you don't get prompt medical treatment, the insurance company will argue that you were not as severely hurt, or that the injuries you got were injuries that you got later or made worse later. The other thing you want to do is make sure you're keeping records. If you miss work, you want to make sure that you keep track of things such as lost wages. So remember, if you are injured by a dog bite or an animal attack, even if you have doubts about whether you might have a case, take the time to talk to an attorney and ask questions. I'm Jamison Allen, Marc Lopez Law, 317-632-3642.